Hey, it's CJ Miller. I am in Shreveport, Louisiana. We are just across the Red River from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. Do come check us out. We have some lovely, lovely items, points of interest, and all sorts of events and everything. Yeah, surprise, I'm down here, and it's like, you know, a little before sunset. I tried to get out. Two people boat on the river and stuff. I guess they're dragging a tube behind. Lots of recreational stuff happens. Uh, and we also have a wonderful cross lake where a lot of this stuff happens. And the river, the cross lake is kind of a reservoir. It kind of filters into the river. It's part of the river system. So uh, it's hard to glimpse from here, but the LED lights are just about to come up. Um, Actually, they are up. They just came on. It's just not quite dark enough to pick up on them. If I zoom, we can see what's going on a little bit. Where are we? Yeah. So there's one. Yeah, it's just subtle. As we uh, pay attention as the sun gets darker, the lights are going to get a little bit more vibrant. Also, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to step a little further away because I've noticed that when I step away, uh, the overall effect of the bridge when it's lit is it's just it's more powerful and more noticed from a distance. Uh, I guess the closer you are, the more the distance between the individual lights it becomes prominent, and so to really get uh, what the designer is going for, to step back from it. So I'll go to the other end of this platform and kind of look up. This is kind of above our, as part of our river walk, there's the aquarium and there's a little restaurant over here. I went to it once. It was open for a private party for school children, and they weren't accepting public diners. And I just haven't had occasion to go back there since because, I don't go out to eat all the time. And there are other places that I like also. So one of these days I'll get over there and check it out. But yeah, it used to be called Salt, uh, and I think that did not go over so well. It was kind of high end, and you know, yeah, it didn't go so well. It's I don't know if you're going to be a high end restaurant in Shreveport, Louisiana, you have to be top notch and without a flaw. Uh, because the competition, especially around these casinos where they have some good diners and stuff like that to go in, cafes and things, but they've also got some really top notch steakhouses. And I'm counting one, two, three, uh, four casinos. And then there's five because there's Boomtown back over there. And then there's another one far off in the distance. Uh, so, yeah. uh, well, I know just off the top of my head, I know that I think there's one. Wait, let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. Uh, it's barely noticeable. Right there, right there is the tip of a sign for I think, yeah, for a third casino on the Bossier side. Actually, it would be the fourth casino on the Bossier side. So four casinos over there, and I don't know. One of them was Casino Magic, and it closed down. And I don't know if they reopened or whatever, or maybe it was going to close down but didn't. I don't know. Anyway, there's at least 3 facilities over there, 2 of them still active, and then 1 over here on Bossier side, and then 2 here. So if you are a gamer for money, this will be a great place that you would want to come visit. That you can come and you can game, and yeah, I have a friend who enjoys it, and you know, he's a high stakes gamer. I don't have the money, and if I did, I don't know that I would want to invest that kind of money, even if I did have it, but doesn't bother him that much. Anyway, I love uh, I love this. Um, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I wanted to watch this kind of gradually, and I still do, but I'm not going to hold you guys up. I'm going to pause the video until it gets a little bit darker out, and then I'll bring it back up, and then you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Because right now, you barely can tell that the lights are there, but they are. But they do really, really well at night after sundown. You know, that's when they really pop. Uh, but I'll take just a moment to talk about the bridge design. So the lights are, uh, you know, this was donated in February of 22 by Dr. Brakowski and his wife and his family. And what happened was, um, you know, a few decades ago, way back in the early 90s, the bridge was lit with neon lights, and gradually, over a 10 or 15 years or whatever, gradually the lights uh, would go out and be in disrepair and everything. And so and it was like, okay, well, we'll get around to doing it, but when we do, we want to do it all at once. So between the 2 cities, uh, who was the responsible party for this and that and everything, whatever. And I don't know. It's just one of those things that back in the day they really didn't put a lot of emphasis into, and there was a depression and war and stuff like that. So I don't know. For whatever reason, they never got around to maintaining those lights when they went out, and I mean, it got, sad. So, about 3 or 4 years ago, they began work on the structure of the bridge, on the infrastructure of the bridge, and the city just got in there and in cooperation with it, and so they would close one half of the bridge, and they'd do the repairs, and they close the other half of the bridge. And right as they got close and near to doing that, Dr. Bukowski donated, I think, I want to say it was at least $1 million of his own money, of their own. I should say there, because you're married, your finances are your home finances. They're not just yours; they belong to your family, your spouse, and your. So anyway, they donated that philanthropically, and also encouraged a lot of other organizations to donate. And yeah, so it didn't cost the city of Shreveport or Bossier anything, but they got in there, raised the money, and made a wonderful looking LED lit bridge. And what's great about it is that they receive lighting designs, because they're programmable. They're by computer and stuff like that, so they can come up and light in different patterns and illustrate different themes. So it was great. I remember at one time it was like pretty much white and blue. They didn't have yellow, but they lit up white and blue to in support of everything that's going on in in Eastern Europe and Russia and Ukraine, and so it was really to be of support to Ukraine. So that was our version of the Ukraine flag, and they did that for a few months, Yeah, it's cool. Okay, so it's getting a little bit darker. I'm going to pause. I'm going to come back in a minute. I love the way the colors reflect off of the water. You know, there's not just this Red River. This is Red River, but there's more than one Red River in the United States. But of course, ours flows directly into the Mississippi, which flows through the delta of the Mississippi into the Gulf of Mexico, uh, and it's got a lot of it's a pretty big waterway system, you know. Still not really dark enough for those lights to pop, although you can start seeing them come a little further in the distance. We'll give it a little more time. A lot of people love it down here. I'm going to just do a quick turn, a quick pan. I don't want to get people's faces, but yeah. So you know, it's like a family checking out the fountain behind me and everything. So yeah, I'm not the only one that ever comes down. A lot of times when I'm down here, I gotta like, oh my god, let me stop the video and stop talking so I don't embarrass myself with the appearance of schizophrenia, which may or may not be accurate at certain times. I do not know. Ah, these roses. They used to light up, and they used to light up with LED action, the same as these. I don't know what these are. I guess they're meant to look like they're LED lights in these little uh, things. I don't know. I guess they chimeneas maybe or something. I don't know. Uh, to me, they kind of look like a wine glass or something. I don't know. I don't know the design, but that's okay. That's the abstract thing, is you to look at it and you'll see some things. Maybe you'll give it an interpretation. It's probably meant to be something, because most of the artwork down here, like for instance, this ball is safe harbor, and it is it's kind of like an anchor or a weight that drops from a large ship when it's docking. So safe harbor is what that's called. I'm not going to walk all the way over to it though. Oh, I will tell you, the designer of these roses. Uh, I never met him, but I used to work for the Episcopal Cathedral here in town, and she was my direct supervisor. So uh, now I'm starting to see some uh, definition from those lights, but I'm going to give it a few more minutes and let it get a little bit darker out here. Uh, I know from the interstate, when you look over, it's like, wow, there's not much distance that is detected between the lights, so the effects look wonderful. You know, like the closer up we are on the bridge, the farther apart the lights are, and so the less effective the the design is. But it won't be that much longer now. The sky's becoming pink, and pretty soon it's going to be purple, and then it's going to be the color of nighttime after the twilight, post twilight. It's going to be a great time for looking at these lights. Meanwhile, there are some other LED lights. This is the Scyport family educational place where people go and learn. And there should be a planetarium. I've never seen like a planetarium show there, but I've seen you know, the occasional 3D movie or something like that. I want to go to a planetarium. You know, like the one that's featured in you know, Rebel Without a Cause. I want that. I want to go. I want that effect uh, in a planetarium. Uh, so that's going to be on my bucket list. That's going to be on my bucket list. I don't really have a bucket list, but as I get older, maybe I'll start. Maybe that's one of the first things that's on my bucket list. I don't know. Do I have it? I don't know. Is that a real thing? It's a movie. Before the movie, The Bucket List, was that a saying? It's a bucket list. Is the list of things you want to do before you kick the bucket. I've done a lot. I've done a lot. I've not been like a hometown boy my entire life. So um, I've got to have a lot of adventure uh, in my life that a lot of people don't always get to have. And some of it was not by choice. Some of it was. Some of it was by reward, and some of it was by consequence. But uh, yeah, so I don't mind being kind of a dull, sometimes a wet blanket or whatever right now because, oh, wow, uh, for quite a while there, it was pretty, wow. You know, when I was working at the cathedral, reporting to the ex-wife, and they were already divorced or whatever when he designed all this or whatever. But yeah, it was so crazy because I worked in the daytime. I would go, I'd wake up, I'd report for duty at a health food restaurant, Earthurial Cafe. It's not there anymore. I would work there for 3 hours. Then I would, shortly after I got that job, the guy I was living with, he was working at the cathedral. That's how I got associated with the Episcopal Cathedral because I'm not Episcopalian. But yeah, so I got the job working in the kitchen, assisting the ladies' cooking guild for the different little events or whatever that they would do, or whatever the ladies that volunteered. So I did that uh, just as needed. Well, so shortly after that, which was okay, then I got hired to work at the dry cleaners next door. So I worked at the next. I'd walk. I didn't have a car then either. I'd wake up, and it wasn't that far of a walk, maybe 10 minutes. I'd walk a few blocks over, and I'd go to the health food restaurant, uh, work for 3 hours because it was only open at lunch. Then I would go next door, and it was a bakery too. But I'd go next door, and I'd work at the dry cleaners. It's not there anymore either. It was the Glenwood dry cleaners, and I would work there for 4 hours. So I already had like 7 hours of a work day. Before I went over to the church. And then I went to this cathedral and I'd work uh, for 2 hours uh, for the church. And then the rest of the time that I spent in the cathedral, I worked for the church, but on loan to the school because they had a private school there also. We're seeing some popping come up a little bit, some colors starting to come through. Against this purple sky. I'm going to finish the story, and maybe by the time I finish it, we'll be able to get some colors going on with this bridge. So, some good visual stuff. Okay, so a little bit resentful, and I'll own that now before I get into this. So, 7 hours, and then I went and I worked working at the cathedral, and then shortly after that, uh, 3 people on the custodial crew between the basically they were working for the school portion in their budget. Those 3 people left, or one was not brought back, and the other 2 quit. One would come. He was an addicted person, and he would show up. He didn't do much. But anyway, I ended up doing the work of 4 people. So I was hired to do the kitchen. So I'd go and make sure the kitchen was tidied up. And then I would go upstairs and I would do all of the classrooms in this 3rd floor of this building. Huge, huge classroom. Floor with a lot of classrooms. And there were classrooms on all 3 floors. And then there was a separate little building that they did the kindergarten classes. But anyway, they called the White House because it was white. But I didn't do that. But I did that 3rd floor. Then I had to go do the gymnasium and the locker rooms. And that they were on the 1st floor. And then I had to do all of the hallways on the first, second, and the third floor of this huge campus. Uh, and the hallways alternated between carpeting and hardwood or hard tile floors. I had to do that. I also had to do uh, the church and the chapel, not the altars. There was an altar guild that specifically did that, and if you know, they really take the fact that those are consecrated and sacred places. They take that very seriously. But everything else, I really had to tend to and take care of. And then there were about 6 stairwells, and the office of the canon, a church canon. I did her office, which was right. It would have been, if there was a fourth floor, it would have been this, because it was the top of the tower, just below the bell that chimed out. It's whatever, at the different times, and the doxology bells and stuff like that. So, uh, yeah, so it was a lot of work that I just kind of filled in. And after a while, it really started to wear on me. But what really got to wear on me, it was doing all those work, all the different teachers in the areas that I worked for the school. They would complain where the corners got cut. And I'm like, one person filling in the job of myself and 3 other people. And then there were other people that worked there, but they had their duties as well. But they didn't pick up any of the extra slack that I did, because uh, they were. I guess the administration was kind of like, hey, we need them concentrating on our offices, And since my job kind of, it was just crazy. But I would start to get ridden, like my direct supervisor, Miss Slack, would sometimes ride me about the work that I was doing, and it's like, this is no. And then they're very high end attendees of this cathedral, uh, and they're the type of people who are used to having like home servants, house servants, and everything. And I don't mind that. I've been in the service industry most of my life in one way, shape, or form. Uh, my first credentialed profession was as a hairstylist, and that's you know boy, these colors are coming up now, but that's service industry in itself. So let's walk a little closer. Okay, so there was a family walking by, a group of friends and stuff, and so it's like, let me chill on the talking while I pass them by. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna walk a little further this way. I love uh, the pink of this time of day that turns into purple, that will eventually turn into nighttime. Uh, it's been a long time about that, but I worked and I did that for probably 7 months. I worked my 2 jobs in the neighborhood, and then I did a lot of work for that church. And then sometimes, because it was good PR and everything like that, I got to do special events outside of the church. If the ladies of the church were doing something that was associated with the church, but was in one of the houses in the city or something like that, one of the private homes, then I got to go do that. And basically, for a while, it was really great, really wonderful. I went in a lot of weekends and worked at the church on the weekends a lot. I loved it, which was basically being kind of on standby for what's needed during the Sunday service, but also uh, when there's weddings, baptisms, anything like that the parish hall or whatever would get rented out for, or something like that, or because I don't know the business side of it, but there was a lot of that. And then there was the after service coffee in the parish hall, and across from the parish hall in the lounge. And that was, these people were very, hey, I want very, very fresh coffee. So we would make these coffees, make the coffee, and then we'd have to put it in these sterling silver decanters and take it out of the room. But very often people would come to us and they would like, we don't want this coffee that you made 5, 6, 7 minutes ago. We want very, very fresh coffee. And it was, oh, honey, uh, go, whatever. We're not servants in your private house. And I get it. Uh, Old coffee, when you have coffee and it sits around, it becomes bitter, you know. And I get it. And it wasn't like high end coffee that the church. If you're at St. Mark's Cathedral 15 years ago, you were not drinking decent coffee, you know. Uh, I was super sorry. That's not what was purchased. But yeah, we did prepare the coffee, and then people would come in and they'd be really picky, and they would want they want it freshly made, just for them. Like they wanted this coffee to be served out in the lounge. But they knew that as soon as we brought the coffee out in the silver, that they would step into the room and that we'd be making more coffee in these big, huge things so it could be super hot and super piping fresh for them. And it's like, oh my God, people. Mm, 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 mm. And tea. We had a lot of tea, muffins, little things like that. We didn't make the muffins, but we set them out, the cookies and things like that, for the typical after Sunday social gatherings or whatever. And that ultimately led kind of to a separation between my partner, because my partner was assistant organist at this cathedral. He was the choir director, and did some office work having to do with data entry and stuff like that, you know. So yeah. So so that became like a class issue, which never bothered me that much. But uh, that that class difference started to come home, uh, and so it's like I cannot be. You did not always regard me in this way. You used to regard me as an equal, and now since I'm a servant on my job, I'm not a servant here at the house, and you cannot uh, order me about as if I'm in your personal employment. I would never have a relationship like that. Never. He wasn't the first one and I don't think he intended to do that. In retrospect, I think that was just I don't know. I think it seemed natural because I was a servant at work, custodial and kitchen maintenance and all this kind of stuff, that I was not part of the social scene at work. That in our private life, I was not going to be part of the social uh, thing, and that really became that financial difference and that class difference that started to affect how we treated each other. Uh, uh, Myself as well, because I would buck against it, and I have to constantly remind them, hey, here at home, I'm your equal, I'm your whatever, and uh, I don't know. Anyway, it was a little confusing. So, but also, it's like, it wasn't love. If it was love, or if it was, maybe it was love at one point, but if it was going to be a lasting true love, then it would have endured uh, our different statuses at work, you know. So, but anyway, it was weird. Oh, so the moral of that story is that you have to be careful about mixing personal and you know your work and your home life. And it can be done. People do live and work together, even different levels within the corporation. And yes, the Episcopal Church is a corporation. It's very corporate. Uh, and polite society, if you have people in high polite society, and then your partner is a, hate to say it, but kind of a social climber, because he was, uh, God love him. But with that going on, you're not going to have a fruitful relationship, you know. Plus, I was coming home. I was like working those. Uh, okay, so here, let's count the jobs that I was doing. Uh, the church, uh, the cathedral. I was working at two. Uh, one job for the church and one for the school that I was on loan for, but filling in for three people. But that's basically two jobs. And then uh, I had my job at the restaurant, had my job at the dry cleaners, and then I got a lot of work just from being known as being dependable. Uh, I got a lot of independent work, catering events, private hosting when people had special events in their home. I was real busy around the holidays. And so, yeah, uh, to finagle that, to sometimes say, hey, you know what, I have this private event. Now, the private events happened mostly on the weekend, so my weekend evenings were free. I was really a workaholic during those years, and um, would come home and I'd be really exhausted, too exhausted to give affection, but also I wasn't in the mood to give affection to someone who was treating me like the hired help at home and who would talk to me about the hired, as if I were. And I was like, at some point, it's like, this is not working. And when I quit something, I quit it all, you know. Uh, and not to mention, I was giving everything to this house that it was a 2 bedroom, and then there's a little garage that was converted into a living space out back also. So I was giving pretty much everything to help with him buying this house. Everything was in his name and everything. I learned never put anything at not never put everything in your life in one egg basket after that. And I haven't since then. My I've been diversified, uh, you know, and I was also the last serious relationship. I was like, I'm okay single, and if I date casually, that's fine. Uh, Although I'm not a frequent dater, and I'm certainly not a casual person in the lovemaking department. There's got to be some sort of like real connection before that happens. Let me pause this for a moment or so until it finishes getting dark. I don't want to run out of video time. So now that it's dark, these colors are really shining bright, and I love how they reflect on the water. One of the things I love about coming out uh, to the river and walking is you never know what thoughts you might want to talk about or process. Oh, this looks like a profile. Hair, nose, maybe a little mouth or whatever. It's kind of cool. I love the way I see the world sometimes, even if other people don't see it that way. Okay, so yeah, but you never know what you need to come out and walk around. What's old and back in the day. I didn't really realize I had that much to say on the topic this long. That was like 2005 uh, when that situation ended. So uh, I'll tell you how long ago that was. Before we run out of time, I'm just gonna say I love you guys. Good night. Love and light. God bless. I'm just going to walk a little bit quietly. I'm almost out of video, so I think I've got a good place where the video is going to end from this view of the bridge through these trees. Love and light, peace, and good night.